But I was with my sponsor 2 weeks ago, and I call him my sponsor. He was my AA sponsor for a really long time, and then I got arrogant in my recovery and believed I knew more than I did. And so we parted ways for me to begin working in another program, and that was a mistake of mine. I wasn't ready, but I thought I was further along the journey than I was. And so I called him a few weeks ago and I said, I'm hurting. I'm really struggling right now. And when we parted ways, you asked me the question, are you really ready to surrender? And in my thoughts and my experience, I thought I'd already surrendered to God. I'm there. And he said, okay, well then maybe I'm not in a place to help you. So when I circled back around, I told him, I said, I thought I was there, but I wasn't. And I need help. So he invited me over to his place, and we're going to begin working the 12 steps again. But this time he said, why don't we just catch up and talk? And I said, part of my despair is this. I've worked the 12 steps of recovery with multiple people, including my friend here. I've exercised. I've gone to hundreds of hours of counseling. I've done prayer, meditation. I got Jesus. I've done all these things, and I still am really struggling sometimes just living life. And he said, well, maybe that's a good thing. He said, maybe that you've come to the end of your resources, and maybe you'll have to look at something outside of yourself. And he said, maybe you also struggle with your humanity. You always talking about me, that I want to be the person God created me to be. What if you're already that person, you just don't like the way God created you? Fair enough. Now, the sponsor is a Christian, but he's not a church-going Christian. But he reads the scriptures. He's a follower of Christ. He just chooses not to attend a faith community in that way. But he used this metaphor. He said, imagine that Jesus was driving this big bus, and he came upon a homeless man, and the homeless man was pushing a shopping cart with all his worldly possessions in there. And Jesus stops and opens the door and invites the homeless man to come on the bus. And the homeless man says, I can't come on because I got my shopping cart. I haven't bathed in a long time, and sometimes I struggle with things in my head. And Jesus says, bring the cart, bring you, come as you are. We're going to love and accept you. And he said, what if when things come up, the parts of you that you don't like, instead of wanting to fix them or change them or heal them, you invite them on the bus and say, come as you are, and you love and accept those parts of you that you have a hard time accepting. So since then, I started practicing inviting those parts of me on the bus and try to offer those parts love and acceptance. And we'll name a few. This is the scary part. There's a part of me that when I get real hungry, I get really grumpy, and my family doesn't like to be around me much, and what makes me angrier is they'll talk about it. They say, uh-oh, Dad's hungry. And so instead of trying to change that, I've always been that way. Come on board. That part of me that I'm not an outdoors person, and there might be sunny days and everybody's outside, and I'm perfectly okay staying inside and reading a book. And I feel shame, like I should be outside. I'm going to invite that person on the bus. There's a part of me that, because I've been through so much counseling, I think that I should be fixed by now. And I'm nowhere close. And it's hard to have compassion for myself because as much money as we've invested in this healing, and I'm not further ahead, all these thoughts and those voices say, you should be, you should be. So instead, when I start having those thoughts, invite them on the bus. And the last thing is this. I don't know if you all experienced this, but there's people in my past who I've really hurt. I did mean things to. And when I have those memories, it's those times where I just wince. I go, gosh, I can't believe I did that. And those are the parts that I'll beat up on myself. And so when somebody gives me a compliment saying, you know, you're a good guy, I like what you're doing, they don't know about those times where I've done those things. And I invite them on the bus. So my sponsor and I talked about the bus for a while, and we hadn't seen each other, and he says, now tell me about this day 7 thing. I said, well, we focus on the rest and wellness of pastors and their spouses, but the heart of it is that we're trying to create spaces where people can tell the truth. And when they tell the truth, we don't try to fix them or save them. We just give them that space to be accepted, to be who they are. And he started smiling, and I didn't know what he was thinking that I didn't know, but he said, you created the bus. You created a place where people can bring their shopping cart and whatever else with them, and whatever they bring, it's okay. And you don't try to save them or fix them. And he said, isn't it so interesting that we'll offer things to other people that we won't give to ourselves?